Hello, welcome to this channel. My name is Enoch. In this channel, we discuss skills and things that are related to cloud and DevOps. And if that resonates with you in any way, feel free to join me. And we have been going through a series on Python. We have been using projects to learn Python, and we are going to continue the same strategy today. In my last video, we did a project on coffee machine dispenser, and we will do the same project today again, but we are going to be using the object-oriented approach. Now, we have been doing beginners projects using procedural functional style programming, but today we'll move to intermediate projects and start using this object-oriented programming approach. Now, you may be asking, okay, what is this object-oriented programming? Object-oriented programming, short for OOP, is just a programming paradigm. Is just a way of structuring your code, that organizes your software into classes and objects. Object-oriented programming model reward entities or objects. It's model reward objects, like a car, an employee, people, coffee machine, a reward object. And you may be looking at it like, okay, why object-oriented programming? We have been enjoying this functional style programming. Why can't you continue in the same approach? Now, as your code becomes bigger and more complex, you may start having code repetition, difficulty maintaining and debugging, and you may have accidental data modification. And that's where object-oriented programming approach comes in. It gives us the benefit of encapsulation, where each object controls its own data. It doesn't expose everything to the whole program. And this will lead to fewer bugs, better control over data, and easier maintenance. It makes your code easier to maintain, reuse, and debug. It helps keep your code dry, so that you don't repeat yourself. It allows you to build reusable applications with less code. So enough of the talking, let's get right to it. Now, Python is an object-oriented programming language. Everything in Python is an object of some sort. If I say name equals to wolf, and I say print type of name like this, and I print this, you will see that this is a class of str. This is string. Okay, now you may have been paying attention to this str alone and not pay attention to this class. What this class is telling you is that this object that we have created, this variable that we have created, is an object of this string, and it belongs to this class of string. It's an object that belongs to this class of string. That's basically what he's telling us. So everything in Python is an object, of some sort, and it belongs to a class. So that's just what I want to say about that. Now, classes and object are the two core concepts in object-oriented programming. Now, we have class and we have object, right? Object. These are the two core concepts in object-oriented programming. Now, a class, what is it? A class is like a blueprint. It's like a blueprint. Let's say you have a blueprint for a car, and from this car you can create multiple, or you can create thousands or millions of cars from it. So that's just exactly the way class and object is. Class is the blueprint, and you can create objects from the class, millions of objects from the class. And one thing that a class will have is they will have some properties, right? Cars will have properties. What do they have? They will have windows. They will have mirrors. They will have wheels. Wheels. A car, we have a steering. And so on and so forth. So these things that a class will have is what we call attributes. They are what we call attributes. And your car will also be able to do some things. They will be able to do some things. What do they do? All right. This car will be able to drive. This car will be able to speed, right? And so on and so forth. And these things that the car can do are what we call methods. And the methods are functions, in a class. Methods are function in a class. So any function that you create in a class are called any function that you create in a class are called methods. All right. So objects will inherit the attribute and the method of a class. Note that, please. Objects inherit attribute and method of a class. So that's that. And if you want to create a class, how do you create a class? To create a class, you use the keyword class. You use the keyword class, and you use a Pascal case typing type to name your class, to give name to your class, where the first letter will be capitalized and you put your colon next. All right. Now there is this one is the Pascal case where the first letter of every word in the class has to be capitalized. If this is a compound word, I will have say, okay, let's say coffee machine, right? You can see the first letters of each word are capitalized and there is no space like that in it. All right, so we know we have partial case. Partial case is like that. We have camel case. Camel case, camel case, the first letter of the first word would be small letter, and the next the first letter of any other word will be capitalized. Yeah, right. And there is nothing attached to it, nothing in between, no underscore. We have snake case. Snake case, where you everything is small letter like these, and you can put underscore there like that. So but to name your class, you will use the Pascal case method, and so your first letter will be the first letter of the word will be capitalized. All right. And once you create it like that, then you start putting whatever you want to put in your class attribute method. You start defining it. But if your class does not have any attribute or any method, it's just an empty class, what do? Make sure you put the word pass there so that you will not get an error. And you can create object from this. I can say p1 equals to, then if you want to create an object from it, how do? You give a variable name. I'm calling it p1, and you write the name of the class followed by parentheses. That's exactly the way you do it. I can say p2. You can give it whatever name you want. Give the name of the class and put parentheses to it. You can see when we are creating the class, you don't need to put parentheses. But when you are trying to create an object, you mention the name of the class, you have to put parentheses in there. All right, now we have p1, we have p2. Now these are objects. These are objects that are created. These two are objects that are created from this class. All right, they are created from this class. Now you can decide that, I want to create object for individual class. I can say p1 of name equals to, I can say white, right? I can say white. I can say p1 of age equals to 20, right? I can say p2 of country equals to USA, like this. So you have to, if you don't define your attribute in the class, you have to define it for your object if you are creating any object individually. And you can access your object. You can say print p1.name like that, and you can go ahead and run it, and it will print your p1 of name white. You can use the same thing to access any other thing like that, in your program like that. All right, so that is a class. So look at how complex it is writing individual attribute for each object. Now this object that we are creating is what we call object properties, object attributes, right? And so if you don't create an object directly from the class when you are creating your class blueprint, then you have to create individual attribute for each object that you create from the class. But there's a method you can use to create an initial attribute from your class, so that every object you are creating will inherit that attribute and the method that you create from the class. And that method is called init method. It's called init method because it is used to initialize the attribute for the class. So and it carries a compulsory parameter like this, which this self parameter is used to reference the instance. Is used to reference the instance of the class. This self parameter is used to reference the current instance of the class, and it can be used to access properties and method that belong to the class. So now you have it like this, and you can define whatever attribute you want to define. You can define the attribute. I can say self.name equals to something. If I have a default value, then I can define the default value there. But if I don't have a default value, I can go ahead and just put it as parameter in this place. I can say name, and I can whatever I don't have a default value for, I can put it as parameter there. can put it as parameter there, and I can just say self.name equals to name, and I can say self.age equals to age like this, and so now that I create these like this, okay, let us add one let us add one that has let us add one that with country equals to USA. Let's add a default value there. So anyone that I define here, I'm not going to put it here. I'm not going to put it as parameter, in the definition of this method, right? I will just leave it like this, So any object that I'm creating from this class like this will inherit all the parameters that I'm initializing here. And one thing you need to note that every object, whenever you create an object from this class, it will call this initial method, this init method. It will call this init method every time you create an object that is created like this. Will call the init method. Let me print something here so that you can see what I'm talking about. I can say print we are humans like this, and you can put it like this. And let me remove other things. And let me just show you what will happen. So let's remove this one, and you will see that this message is going to print twice, because this one calls the init method, this one too calls the init method, and every time it calls the init method, it will execute the code that is there. So it will print this we are human. So if you define any parameter here, you have to add it to when you are creating your object. So I can say the first one here is let's say this one is John, and I can say John is 25 years old. Then for this P2, I can say this guy is Samuel, and Samuel is 50 years old, right? If you don't put all these parameters that you put here, then it's going to give you an error. So that is what will happen. And so for creating every object like this, it will execute this init method. So let's run it and see. You can see we are humans. So every object that you create will call this init method. It will call it, and whatever is there, it will execute it. So, and every object that is created from a class inherit the attribute and the methods of the class. All right, I have said that again and again, and I've said this self that you are looking at here. This self is a reference to the current instance of the class. It is used to access the properties, that's the attribute and method that belong to the class. And the self parameter must be the first parameter of any method. So if we are creating any other method, I can say display info, and I can create it like this. So every method that we are creating in this class must have their first parameter as self like this. It's not necessarily self. You can call it something else. I can call it ABC. I can call it deg. I can call it whatever I want. But you know that the first parameter is just a reference to the current instance of the class. You know that, all right? And it's what you are going to be using. So let me just use self back, and I can simply just say print, and I can use my F string. My name is self.name like that. So I can call P1 on it. I can call P1 on it, display info like this. I can also call P2 on it, P2 display info. Just like I told you earlier, every object created, from a class inherit, the attributes and the method of the class. So if we run this, you will see we are humans. My name is John. My name is Samuel. You can see that. So that's just that. And there are some types of attributes in object-oriented programming like this. There's what we call class attributes. So I can say species equals to human, and this that I mentioned here is a class attribute. Every object that I'm creating will inherit these class attributes. This one that I create here are what they call instance. What we call instance attributes. Instance attributes. So all these name, age, country, they are instance attributes, and they are initialized in this init method. So all the objects that are created will inherit them, and that's just what I want you to note. So and I also said that you can use the this self parameter you can use it to access the attribute and the method of the class. All right, so I also want to let you know that this self is used to access whatever method has been created in the class, and it's used to access whatever variable or attribute that has been created in the class, like this self.name, like this. So in your program, anywhere you want to reference this particular attribute, you'll be using this self.name as we use it like this. And let's create another method, and let's see how we can do the same thing. So greet self like this, and I can call the self dot display info like this, and I can say print welcome to Coffee Machine, right? Welcome to Coffee Machine. So this is a method, and I'm calling this, in this method I'm calling this particular method self.displayInfo print this, print this, and I can go ahead and call it, the way you call it is p1, you got p1 greet like that. That's the way you call it. I want to call this particular function. I can remove this one, so I can remove this one if I want. I can remove this one if I want, but I just want to call this function, and this is the way you call, this is the way you write it to call it. So if I run it like this, you will see hello John, welcome to the Coffee Machine. This hello John is coming from here, self.displayInfo. This print hello so and so, and this one print welcome to the Coffee Machine. All right, so that's that. Now let's go to our project for today. Our project is the coffee machine that we did the other day in my last video, and we just want to create an object-oriented version of it. So I'm copying it and I'm bringing it into a new file that I named Coffee Machine OOP like this. So I'm just putting it here. So now I don't want us to start it from the beginning. I just want us to edit it to convert it to an object-oriented approach style. So we're importing time, OS, and JSON like this, and the next thing we would do is to create our class, and I will name it Coffee Machine like this. So after we create the class, the next thing we want to create is attribute, right? And I want to make this one a class attribute state file. I want to make it a class attribute, so I will remove it from here. I'll bring it here and put it here. So this one will be a class attribute, right? Just like I explained earlier, class attribute. And it's going to be constant. It's going to be because it's going to be the same throughout the program. So the next thing now I need to create is our init method that we are going to use to initialize variable for these or attribute for these particular project. So I'm just going to move this one. I'm just going to move it like this. I'm going to move it inside this place. I'm going to move it like this. So that's that. So now every variable has to be preceded with the word self. So I'm just going to use self.price, self.default resources, and I will say self.requirement. And I want you to look at it carefully. You can see I'm not putting prices in this place. I'm not going here to go and put prices in this place because I already given a default value here, and this value probably will not change throughout. So I'm just I have a default value, so I'm just giving it here. All right. So let's go and see, is there any other value that we want to move as an instant and initialize in our init method? Let's go and look through. No. Let's move that. Okay. So now let's use this one. Let's move this one to. Let's make this one to one of our. Instance attribute. Let's make it one of our instance attribute, and let's move it here so that it will be available. So now we'll change this one to self.resources, and I will also change this one to self.loadState. All right, so all these resources that we have created here, is going to be available for all these attributes. They are going to be available for all the methods and all the objects that will be created for through this class, so now this is the class. This is the init method that we have created here to initialize all the variables we need, and now we will start creating method one after the other for this particular class. All right, so let's move these all these functions. Let's move them appropriately like this, and let's start correcting them one after the other. Well, we can correct a lot at a go, but I don't want to do that. I want you to see how we do it one after the other. So this state file, you can only also reference it through self. Don't forget, you have to put yourself there. Let's just do it one after the other like that. And what we are using. If you did not watch this, if you did not watch my initial video on the coffee machine, please go and watch it. I'm going to put a link to the video below. Go and watch it so that I don't have to explain it again. We use this load state, to load a Python dictionary from a JSON file, and that's why we are importing JSON up here, and OS. So we are checking. If you look at this function, we are checking if there is this part, this state file part, which we define above in our class attribute. This part, if the part exists in our operating system, then it will be able to load the Python dictionary from the JSON file. All right, so please, you can just go ahead and watch the video so that I don't want the video to be too long. So just edit this self like this, and this one does not need to have this one. We have already defined them above, and they will be inherited like that. Sorry, this is supposed to be self, not slave. So put self like that behind them, behind them. So everything will be fine like that. So now, so for this one, you don't need to put these resources here. You only need to put yourself there, and you only need to put yourself there. And you don't need to put these resources here. It has to be here because we are referencing it. So you put yourself.resources, and that's it. And so this one too is done like that. It's done like that. We don't need to change any other thing there. So let's move on to the next function. So this function, we know that we have defined resources above, so we don't need to put it here again. It will be inherited, so just leave it like that. So this particular function, we use it to get report of the available resources. So that's self.resources. So in this one, you put yourself valid choices. Yes, we will put it there. All right, because we have not defined them above, right? We have not defined them above. This function, yourself has to be the first parameter there, so we just put it there. You know the get in function, I've explained it, and the get choice, they are very useful. And this requirement, we've defined it above in the init method, so we don't need to put it here. Resources too, we have defined it in the init method. We don't need to put it here, so just leave it like that. So we are defining these new variables here because we want to use them. All right, so just leave it like that. So I will just say self.requirement like this, and we are good. So these resources, I have to edit all this one after the other. There is a way we can edit. In fact, there are multiple ways we can edit them at a go once, but I just want us to patiently go through it so that you can understand what we are doing very, very well. If I change everything once, we may skip certain things and you may not understand it. All right, so you can see all the variables we are referencing all the attributes, all the variables using self. So you use self to access the variables and the function and the functions or the method. This is a method that we are calling a save state above. So when you update the resources, we call the save state to save the resources back into the JSON file. All right, so let's move on. So this is another function. Let's look at it. It's used to get order. So the first thing that will be there, don't forget, is yourself, and the flavor, leave it there like that. We need it. We have not defined it above. So all these functions, we need to put self before them. We need to put self before them. So self dot, so like that, and that's it. So let's move on. From there, get order is used to get order. So calculate total is used to calculate the total cost of every order. So we define prices above, so we just say self.prices here like that, so that's exactly what we did, what I explained earlier. So self comma, we use this one to get payment. We have defined resources above. We don't need to put it in this in this function definition again. So self dot like that, self dot like that, and self dot like that, and self dot like that. So that's that. Every time you are accessing your method, you need to use yourself dot like that. So this is a method, and you also need to use yourself to call your method. You don't need to put this all the attributes that have been defined above. You don't need to put them in your method or in your functions when you are calling them again. So that's that. I hope you understand what I'm doing. So this is the call coffee machine function. So you put self there, and this one you don't need to put these resources in this refill one. We already defined it above. All the functions that we define, we inherit the attribute that we have defined in the need function above. So we just say self dot resources, self dot resources, self dot resources, and we use self to access this function, right? Self to access this resources does not need to be there. So every time we update the resources, we are calling the save state function so that I can save it to our state file, right? So self like that, and that's that. So this is our main function that will call other functions. So I will not call it coffee machine, I will call it run. So let's call it run like that. And so self dot get choice, and if the choice is this, then it will call this. So let's just edit them like that, and so let's edit all the method that we have created like that, self dot, and so you can see that. So the requirement, we remove it when we are calling the function, because we have already defined it above with a default value, so the only thing I did not define above is order, and that's why I'm leaving the order. So I hope you understand. Resources does not have to be there, and the self does not have to be there when you are calling it, right? And all this method, you just put yourself there. So that's that. If you're calling the functions, you have to put self there. These resources, you don't have to put it there because we have already defined them above. So self dot and resources does not have to be there. So this is so self dot like that, and let's remove this one. So now we have created we have finished creating all our method. Now you can see all the method that we have created, right? All the method that we have created. You can see all the method that we have created. These are the methods that we have created. These are the methods that we have created. Let me just put something here. These are the methods that we have created. They are methods that are functions that you create in a class, and every object that is created from the class will inherit those methods, and these are the attributes that we have created from this class, and we use the init method to initialize them, right? So that's that. So if you check it from above, we import time OS JSON, and we create a class attribute. We create attributes in instant attribute. The one that we create here are instant attributes, just as I explained earlier. And we start creating the method one after the other. Load state, we know we use it to load a dictionary from JSON file. Save state, we use it to save a JSON file from a Python dictionary. Report, used to give reports like that. Get choice, we just every time we are asking for an input, we put the value choices and the prompt like that. Get instance, prompt like that. Check choice resources, we use it like that. You can see. So get order like that. Calculate total amount. Get payment. Then we'll make the coffee refill machine is for admin. And we write the final function, and we'll put them in a while loop. Then we start asking if they want order coffee resources, and just like that. So So now we have created our class and the attribute and the method. So what we now need to now create is objects. Now, if you run it, nothing will happen. If you run it now, nothing will happen because we just have an object. We just have a class. We have not created object from the class. So let's now create object from this class. So I will say machine equals to the coffee machine, like that. I will say it like this, and from there I can say machine.run like this. So this line is what is going to run it above. I need to first create these objects, and after creating this object I can now start running it. So machine.run will call this run function or this run method, and it will run our coffee machine stuff. So let's run it now, and you can see now it's working as it's supposed to work. So machine state loaded successfully, welcome to Python Coffee Machine. So type coffee to order, report for resources, refill for admin, quit to quit. I can first say report, and it will give us the report of the available resources. And if I want to buy coffee, I can say coffee. Then it will ask me, what would you like, espresso latte or cappuccino? I can say latte, and it will go ahead and say, how many latte would you like? I can say, let's say 2. And it said, would you like to order more? I will say no. And you say your final order is espresso 0, latte 2, cappuccino 0, and your total cost is $5. Confirm your order. I will say yes if it's correct. And he said, sorry, there are not enough resources to make this coffee. Please wait for barista to refill machine. Okay, so it will go, the while loop will go again. What do you want? I want coffee. Maybe I want to buy something else. Maybe it's because I bought 2. Let me just buy one. I want latte, and I want 1 single latte. And this is, would you like to order more? Then I can say yes. I can even say yes. And what would you like? I can say espresso. And say how many espresso would you want? Just 1 is okay. Would you like to order more? I can say no. Say your order is 1 espresso, 1 latte, 1 cappuccino. Total cost is $4. Confirm your order. Then I will say yes. And from there you say your total cost is $4. How many quarters did you insert? Then I can say 20 quarters. How many dimes? I can say 0 dimes, 0 nickels, 0 pennies. Payment accepted. Your change is $1. Then say making your coffee ready, enjoy your drink. Then I can get my report again and see what is left. 50 millimeter. This is working as we want. This is $19 because it's retaining data from previous order. It's retaining data from previous order. If I want to refill, I can put refill. I want to refill, and it will say enter admin password admin 123. Then it's refilling. If I finish refilling, then you can see my resources have been updated. If I want to quit, I'll just type quit, and that's it. So our object-oriented programming coffee machine is working as expected. All right, so that's that for today. I will put this in my GitHub account for you. And you will see the link below to my GitHub account. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.